lot of it landed on Ladarrius, the man who'd just come home from prison, to her. He didn't stay in Memphis after all this. He moved to Charleston, South Carolina. And it looked like, for a while, he was building a new life with somebody new. Now, here's something that connects right back to Memphis. See, after everything that happened with Jeremy, there'd been all this online chatter. People saying he was the type to run from the police. People saying if he was innocent, why not just cooperate? And on this night in Charleston, South Carolina, none of that was theory anymore.
This video shows a chase up and down the peninsula. At one point, you can even see sparks appear below that SUV. Deputies say the chase ended with the suspect getting out of his SUV and running across lanes of I-26, where deputies say he was then hit by oncoming traffic and died. The Charleston County Coroner's Office identified the man as 27-year-old Ladarrius Christian from Memphis, Tennessee.
Katie, around 1 a.m. near the Ashley Phosphate Road exit and the I-26, the Charleston County Sheriff's Office attempted to stop a vehicle for reckless driving, but that vehicle did not stop, which led to a pursuit. Stop sticks were deployed, which brought that car to a stop, but that suspect did get out of the car and fled on foot across lanes here on the I-26. Now, that suspect was hit by a civilian car and died on the scene. Now, just a few minutes ago, that civilian car was here, but it was just towed away, and there was a heavy police presence blocking a few lanes here near the 52 connector and the I-26 West, but that now has been cleared, and we don't have much information on that civilian, if there were any injuries, but as we get more information, we'll keep you updated. Again, the lanes here on the I-26 West and 52 connector have been cleared, so traffic is flowing, and as we get more information, we'll keep you updated.
I am Supreme. Today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on Ladarrius Christian, popularly known as Big Grape, who was the former boyfriend of Jeremy Caples. If you don't know who Jeremy Caples is, I did a reading on her, and it is in the link in the description below. Please go watch that reading on Jeremy Caples so you would understand who Big Grape is in that reading. So that way you will understand why I'm doing the reading on Big Grape today. Because a year after Jeremy Caples, Big Grape's former girlfriend, was found dead by a gunshot wound to her head in a vehicle, a year later, Big Grape met his own demise during a high-speed chase with law enforcement where Big Grape escaped the vehicle, his vehicle, and it was said that during that escape and that run, he was hit by oncoming traffic. Is that what really happened to Big Grape? Or did the devil come to collect? Did something much more darker and sinister happen to Big Grape? Whether he was hit by oncoming traffic or whether law enforcement has something to do with his death directly and concealed it by the obvious. Well, it's on dash cam that he escaped the vehicle. He jumped to the other side of the expressway. Nobody knows what happened on the other side of that expressway because there were no cameras on that side. The only camera that captured the footage of Big Grape's last moments was the dash cam of him escaping his vehicle and jumping over the divider on the expressway. What happened on the other side of that divider? Was he really hit by oncoming traffic? Or did law enforcement do something to him? Either way it go, did the devil come to collect? Was Big Grape actually guilty of his former girlfriend Jeremy Caples' death? Now, if you watch that reading and then you watch this reading, you will see some similarities because, see, now I actually know Big Grape's zodiac sign. And if you look at his zodiac sign, which I'm going to get to, if you look at his sign in Jeremy Capel's reading, because I didn't know his sign, I didn't know his planetary alignment until today. I did Jeremy Capel's reading probably about a month ago, or a little less than a month ago. I didn't know Big Grape's sign at that time. But now that I do know his sign, and I think I did follow Libra because Libra is the energy of the significant other. So even if I don't know a spouse's or boyfriend or girlfriend's sign, I still follow the sign that represents the significant other, Libra. Just like if there is a friend involved in a case and I don't know the friend's sign, I always follow Aquarius. If a family member was involved and I don't know that family member's sign, I always follow Cancer until I do know that sign. And 9 times out of 10, when their sign surfaces, it fits in perfectly with what came out in the reading that I did before I even knew their sign. Just like the story of Big Grape. His planetary alignment is in front of me. He is a Libra and his moon is in Taurus. When you look at Jeremy Capel's reading, focus on where Libra is in that chart and where Taurus is in that chart. And you will see the role that Big Grape played in the death of Jeremy Caples. Now, I'm gonna leave that right there because I'm gonna let you go watch that. But just look out for Libra in that reading and Taurus, because I did not know he was a Libra or his moon was in Taurus. I didn't know any of his alignments. Now let's talk about what happened to Big Grape a year later, after his girlfriend was found dead, shot in her head in her vehicle. The 27-year-old resident of Memphis, Tennessee, who passed away on May 16, 2022, following a high-speed police pursuit in North Charleston, South Carolina. Now, deputies from the Charleston County Sheriff's Office tried to pull over Christian's vehicle around 1 a.m. for reckless driving near Ashley Phosphate Road. Now, I'm glad that I know that time, because when you look at the death chart, the moon is in Scorpio at 1 a.m. May 16, 2022. It didn't go into Sagittarius until about 7 something that morning. Big Grape was already unalived by then. He died on the scene. So that was at 1 a.m. The moon was still in Scorpio that early morning. So that is the moon that I will follow. That will give me the most accurate information on what are the energies that led up to this demise. Now, we all know from watching Jeremy Capel's reading, and a lot of you had researched you've seen her on social medias, TikToks, Instagrams, Facebooks, YouTubes. You know what type of lifestyle Jeremy Caples and Big Grape was living. We all know that energy. It's unfortunate, but nobody in that energy lives happily ever after. Those energies is what I call scarred energies. Unhealed energies. Because you got to remember, Big Grape was in jail for robbing. I'm going to get to it. He was in jail. He was involved in a theft of roughly $12,000 in merchandise. Now, Jeremy Capel's reading, okay, you will see the video. I don't know if I put that video in her reading, but you can look it up online. Jeremy Caples, and all of her videos will pop up. She gave Big Grape a big homecoming, like, oh my God, cheerleader. She was cheerleading his homecoming from jail. It was all on camera, social medias, everything. She wanted the whole world to know that her man is coming home from jail.
Free Grape, Big Grape, free, yeah. We put this shit on for you, Big Grape. Free nigga shit.
She looks overjoyed, right? But she deserves to.
A man who had been locked up for stealing over $12,000 of merchandise from a store. And I think he got into physical confrontations with the women that worked at that store that was trying to stop him. He assaulted those women. Now here, Jeremy Caples, may she rest in peace. Nobody's perfect. But I'm definitely going to explain this energy and educate people on this energy. Because this is an energy that nobody lives happily ever after in. Now you can live whatever life you want, but you gotta pay the price. And a lot of people cannot afford to live that life. Because, like they say, when the devil comes to collect, you have bills to pay in that energy. And I really believe that's what got Jeremy Caples' life taken from her. The devil came to collect. Because if you watch that reading, you will see how it all panned out. And you will know, yeah, that was the devil coming to collect. You know, things can seem innocent on the surface. You know, she's in love with this man that been locked up for some years. You know, she's been holding herself together until he gets out. You know, like she gave him a good homecoming. Rose petals everywhere in the house and candles. And she had rose petals in the bathtub with water, the jacuzzi, and candles everywhere. And it was like immaculate. It was an immaculate homecoming for a man who was in there for theft of $12,000 of merchandise. A thief. A violent thief at that. So, let's talk about this energy and why people don't live happily ever after in this energy. Authorities used stop sticks to deflate the vehicle's tires, forcing it to come to a stop near the Highway 52 connector. Christian exited the disabled vehicle and fled on foot across the active lanes of I-26, where he was fatally struck by a passing civilian Ford F-350 pickup truck. He died at the scene. So in May 2015, Christian was arrested alongside 3 other individuals in Memphis for an armed robbery at the Icon clothing store on Highland Street, which involved the theft of roughly $12,000 in merchandise. A lot of times, women who come from broken homes without the father's influence and have mother issues, you know, they don't know how to love. So we got to have compassion for them. Because I'm not doing this reading to down talk Big Grape, and I didn't do Jeremy Caples' reading to down talk her either. But I will zoom in on the energy for educational purposes. Because everybody's life is an example. It's just a lot of people's life, especially in this energy, is an example of what not to do. If you find yourself in that energy, you have time to heal. You have a chance to heal. You have a chance to do your shadow work. Shadow work is processing your trauma. If you don't process your trauma, it will control you. That's what turns you into a thief. You feel like the world owes you something because the people that should have been there for you growing up to teach you right from wrong didn't. They wasn't there. So we take that into the world. We're angry. And we take that anger into the world, and instead of healing and processing that, which a lot of us don't know how to do, we're not born with a manual that teaches us how to process being born in a broken family, in a broken home. None of us asked to be here. So this is not about down talking people who live in this energy. This is about understanding that this energy is real. Okay? And the repercussions of being in that energy without healing is real. And it only leads to deaths, jails, institutions, mental asylums, violence, theft, murder, rape. A lot of these women, their sexual energy is scarred. Men too, their sexual energy is scarred. When your sexual energy is scarred, you seek predators. You have a predatory sexuality. Whether it's men with women, men with men, women with women, it's all predatory, lusty, disrespectful, bestiality, very violent. People in that energy, they like that shit. They don't like it. It's just they're under the spell of that unhealed, traumatic energy. It must be healed. You can't help. You may have been molested. You may have been born with parents that did not want you. You may have been born with parents who were on drugs. You may have been abused as a child. All of this is trauma. You may have been abandoned as a child, grew up in foster care, may have been adopted, don't even know who your parents are. That's trauma. It needs to be healed. We have to do shadow work because these things control us until we learn how to process them. And then we learn how to forgive. Forgive your parents for abandoning you. Forgive your elders that you should have trusted, but yet they abused your trust. They hurt you, abused you, abandoned you, molested you. You got to forgive them. Whatever they were going, they didn't do no shadow work. They were still being controlled by their trauma. And when we don't forgive, everything that was done to us is still controlling us. So we must do shadow work, especially before you have children. Because if not, your shadows will raise your children instead of you. And a lot of these men and women, like Jeremy Caples and Big Grape, was raised by shadows. They weren't raised by healed parents. They were raised by shadows that lurked in their families and in their parents and in their parents' parents. And a lot of us were raised by generational shadows that's been in our family for ages until somebody breaks the curse. When you do shadow work, you begin to break the curse. Y'all visit my other channel, Chosen Oracle Messages. We talk about all of that over there. I will link that channel in the description below. So, what happened to Big Grape? Now, I'm going to pull a chart. I got my spirit team on board. I have the alignments in front of me. Big Grape's date of birth. And I have the day that he unalived. So I do have the charts. I went over the charts. But I want to pull cards. I'm always switching up my craft. I'm supreme. I am a high-ranking astro oracle psychic investigator. I communicate with the living and the dead, as you will soon see, for the purpose of bringing justice to communities, families, and the world at large. You are about to witness a high-ranking astro oracle psychic investigation on Ladarrius Deshaun Christian. And may he too rest in peace. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're here learning. Okay? But there's a lot of examples that you can learn from. A lot of people's lives who are unhealed. You watch and see what happens to them. Because that means you still have time to heal. They are the sacrifice. So let their deaths, people like that, let their deaths be a lesson. Because I tell you one thing, whether the police did it to him or whether he was actually did get hit by an F-350, either way it go, it was the energy that he was in that led to all of that. His own energy orchestrated all of that. Energy is everything. And it doesn't lie. So, I got my spirit team on board. I've tuned in to Ladarrius Deshaun Christian. I've talked with him. His energy is with me. And we had a very good talk. Okay? A non-judgmental talk. We have a non-judgmental understanding. And I'm pulling from the energy of that day in Ladarrius Deshaun Christian. Not just what happened that day, but I'm pulling what was he going through. Period. That led up to that. I'm going to pull how it started, and then I'm going to pull how it ended. The accident, the high-speed chase, and the death was just the physical manifestation. Let's tap into what was going on behind the scenes, which is in the energetic realm, the spirit realm, the ethers. Open up a chart and tell me how it started. Ladarrius Deshaun Christian. Talk to me. I'm going to cut the deck and I'm going to pull how it started. Jupiter in the first. The very first house. Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of travel. It is the planet of abundance. It is the planet of expansion. Jupiter is the planet of long distance travels, long journeys. Jupiter is also the planet of foreigners. Jupiter represents experience. And y'all know experience is the best teacher. Now, Jupiter, the day that Ladarrius, Big Grape, we're going to call him Big Grape because that's what he's well known for. The day that Big Grape died, Jupiter was in Aries. So this was an expansion of his own life. Now, this is how it started. Jupiter represents big dreams, big goals that you have for yourself, especially when it's in Aries, because Aries represents self. Let's pull that chart. Of course, that would be Aries rising because Jupiter was in Aries that day. So when Aries comes first, Aries is rising. Does Big Grape have any Aries energy? No. Now, Mars is the planet that rules Aries. Where was Mars at that day that he died? Mars was in Pisces. And Pisces is in its own house. Okay? Now, Mars and Pisces represents spiritual warfare, especially when it's in its own house. Because the 12th house is the house of spiritual warfare. That is the house of our shadows. I'm also going to put the link in the description below of my tutorial video. Y'all know all my previous readings, I always try to put my tutorial. I have a Astro Oracle tutorial video that breaks down the meaning of every planet, every house, and every sign. It is a timestamp video. You can go to that video and click on any sign that you hear me talk about, any house number, or any planet that you see me pull in my cards or talk about in any of my charts. So that way you will see where I'm getting my information from. When you go and click on Jupiter, you will see why I'm telling you what I'm telling you about Jupiter. And then when you click on the first house, you will see why I'm telling you what I'm telling you about Jupiter in the first house. Because Jupiter plus the first house plus Aries represents what I just explained. Now, Mars was in Pisces. Mars is in the 12th house right here. Pisces is in its own house. The 12th house is the house of the hidden, what was hiding. There was a lot that he was hiding, but also he was in a spiritual warfare while he was settling out to embark on big goals for his life. We all want big things for our lives. The thing is, not everybody can travel. How am I going to say this? The systematic roads to get there. And I'm not talking about highways like it's in the highway that he got killed on. I'm talking about these spiritual highways and the paths that are available to us in the world, such as a person that has a document, degree, or diploma who finished school can get a job and make money, save their money, use their money to build their own business and empire in a legal way, according to them. I don't see that when it comes to Big Grape. However, I do see that he has big dreams for himself. We all do. Whether we got a degree, diploma, or not. Whether we have a good job or not. It's natural to have big goals for yourself. We all want to be successful. But we all don't have what the governments of this world, who they claim they rule the world. Of course, I know different, but that's a whole nother video. Okay? Because I deal with a whole nother power and a whole nother force. Okay? But that's a whole nother video. They have a right to be successful. But not everybody is given the opportunity to be as successful as they want to be or as they are worth. When you have to go through the paths that are available in a world that is ruled by the enemy of source. You may want to rewind that part and listen to what I just said. Talk to me. Where's Big Grape at in this chart? He is a Libra. He's right here in a relationship. Of course, because when you are a man who has a record, relationships mean a lot to you. Because that is a pathway to success. Because you can't get much in your name when you have a record. So, of course, he was relationship oriented. He had to make sure he kept a relationship. Because relationships was his key to his success. In a world that already marked him. Marked him with a record. I mean, he marked himself with a record. I mean, you're a thief. You stole $12,000 in merchandise. You can't just go into a store and steal what you want. You can't do that. And then you violently assaulted the people who were trying to stop you. You can't do that. You know that was wrong. His moon was in Taurus. And Taurus is right here. Taurus is money. Taurus and Libra put together is money in a relationship, which was the source of his stability. Now, open up a chart, Big Grape, that's going to tell me about how it all ended. Because this second chart that I'm going to open up is going to animate the first chart. And I'm going to show you how. A lot of y'all already know how, but I'm going to show you how. Raw and uncut. Open up a chart, Big Grape, that will let me know how it all ended. Open up a chart that will animate everything in the first chart to tell us the story, in your words, on what happened. Venus in the fifth. Relationships. Venus is the planet that rules Libra and Taurus. Make sure y'all watch that tutorial so you don't think I'm just up here talking shit to make myself seem accurate. You can see the accuracy for yourself when you understand what Venus is, because I just talked about Taurus and Libra are both ruled by the planet Venus. And Venus is in the fifth house. The fifth house is Leo's house. That is the house of romance, celebrations, entertainment, parties. And we know Big Grape was all about that. Let's pull this chart. This is about relationship, romance. Venus that day was in Aries. You cannot make this up. You can't. The first card that was pulled that day is in Aries. Self. And so is the second card. Venus. You see it for yourself. Is in Aries. So Aries is a very important dot to connect in this case. And Aries comes first. So we're talking about his romantic partner. Let's see who that is. When you put Venus in Aries in the fifth house, guess what comes first? The very sign that I told you is ruled by Jupiter, Sagittarius. You can't make that up. Go look at it for yourself in the tutorial. Sagittarius. Jupiter is the planet that rules Sagittarius, and Jupiter was the very first card. This is where it started. And this is the chart. The ninth house. The ninth house is the house of foreigners. Now, was this a foreign romance? Because Leo is in its own house, which is the fifth house. That's Leo's house. Look where Leo is, because the fifth house is ruled by Leo. So we got to follow Leo too. Look where Leo is in the chart that was pulled to tell us how it ended. Leo is right there in the ninth house. So this could be about a foreign romantic partner. The sun rules Leo. The sun that day was in Taurus. Big Grape's sun is in Libra. So where is Big Grape at? Libra in this chart, in the 11th house of friends. Where is Taurus at? Because the sun was in Taurus that day, and so is Big Grape's moon. So the sun and the moon was aligned that day. Now let's look at where Taurus was that day. Taurus was right here in the 6th house of work. The 6th house of work. Who was at work? This is Virgo's house. And Virgo is up here in the 10th house. Who was at work that day? Where was Big Grape going that day? Was he at work that day? What happened to Big Grape May 16th, 2022? What happened? What happened to Big Grape May 16th, 2022? I believe he was in a foreign romantic relationship with somebody. And this person was the key, like all of his relationships, to a very grand success. I feel like this foreign individual was successful enough to be the type of key that would give Big Grape his big break. But it all ended in a high-speed chase because they said he was driving recklessly. So they wanted to pull him over. And he wouldn't pull over. He gave them a hard time. What happened to Big Grape? Can't make that up. You can't make that up. A Libra event. Relationship. This is an event for two. Him and the person that he was driving with? Or was he on his way to an event for two? Right? Now, where's Libra at? Libra's in the 11th house of friends. Was this about an event for two that involved friends? A circle of friends? This is Aquarius' house. Where's Aquarius at? In the 3rd house of the local environment. Was he hanging out? Was he coming from an event? We know he was drugged up because he was traveling intoxicated. Neptune in the air. Air is travel. Neptune is intoxication. Neptune is spirituality. Intoxication, psychedelics, mind-altering, mood-changing substances and experiences. Mars came out in reverse in the air because he was hit. He was hit. You see it for yourself. Mars came out in reverse. Mars that day was in Pisces. Intoxication. Where's Pisces at in this chart? Pisces is right here in the 4th house of home and family. 4th house is the history. That is the history of a person and family of a person. But if you look in the house of death, you see Cancer. So this Mars in the 4th house, that's Cancer's house. So the spiritual warfare and the intoxication showed up in the 4th house of home and family. And then home and family showed up in the house of death. What's going on here? Family in the house of death. Was he losing a home? Because this doesn't mean the death. This means death of a family member, but this can also mean the end of a home. Where was the moon at that day? Because the moon rules Cancer. The moon was in Scorpio. And that's where it started. Death. Scorpio is right there in the 8th house of death in the first chart that came out from the first card. And the second chart that came out that talked about this romance is why Cancer in the house of death. Cancer is in its own house. I feel like this is letting me know. Because look. Taurus person came out in reverse. Taurus person came out in reverse. Where's Taurus at? Where's this person, that Taurus person? Right there in the 6th house. Working. Now, this Taurus person came out in reverse. Was this a law enforcement worker? Because Virgo, this is Virgo's house, where Taurus is, and Virgo is in the 10th house of the public authority figures. Is this Taurus person a public authority figure? Where Big Grape met with foul play? Did they actually do something to him? Was his accident of being hit by the F-350 a lie? Is that why this card came out in reverse? Who is in the energy of Big Grape's death? Who is in the energy of Big Grape's death? Because like I told you, whether law enforcement did something much more darker and sinister to him, or whether Big Grape really did get hit by that F-350, both stories would still make sense. Him being hit makes sense. But also him being unalived by a much more darker, sinister way by law enforcement would also make sense too. But what makes the most sense involving both of those stories is the fact that, like they say, the devil comes to collect. We're just going to give a name to that type of energy that he was in. It was that energy he was in. The energy he grew up in. Like I told you, nobody lives happily ever after in that energy. You must heal. You must heal. Who is involved in the energy surrounding Big Grape's death? Family in the 5th house. That 5th house came out again. Somebody in his family is involved. Was the person he was with a family member who tried to masquerade as some partner that didn't know who he was? Family in the 5th. Could this be the mother of his children? Because the 5th house is also the house of children. And the family came out also in the 5th house. Now, in the 5th house, I see Aries. And that's weird because Aries, not weird, it's ironic. Aries came first in the first chart. So could this be the mother of his children? Him having big dreams with the mother of his children. Does he have children? I'm not sure if Big Grape has children. I'm not even sure if Big Grape had children. Did Ladarrius Deshaun Christian have children? Public records and published obituaries details do not list any children for Ladarrius Deshaun Christian. He tragically passed away at the age of 27 on May 16, 2022, following a traffic-related incident in South Carolina. His formal remembrance services were held at Bramage. Could this have been a dream of him having children and starting a family? It came out. Venus in the house of children, being attracted to a woman who can have his children, because obviously he didn't have any children. Was he embarking on a dream of having children, settling down and changing his life without paying the bills when the devil came to collect? I believe that's what this is saying. Because a lot of people, you know how like when they say, oh man, you know, why did this person get killed? They just got a good job and they was on their way out the hood. They was trying to get out of that life. They was trying to get out that gang. They was trying to get away from that crowd, but they never made it out. That is a common pattern with people in that energy. They never make it out because there is a way to make it out. You must do that shadow work. I believe this dream that Big Grape had was to settle down. Maybe that woman in the car was to settle down with a woman who he can build a family with children. That is this card right here. Marriage, family with children. Venus is marriage. It rules Libra and Taurus. This is sad. A Libra event could be the marriage. Was he going to get married? Because in the first chart that came out, Libra is right there in a relationship. I'm hearing voices. Big Grape wants to talk. He wants to talk. Tell me whatever it is you want to tell me, Big Grape. No judgment. What do you want to talk about? Something told me to pull a voicemail. What do you want to talk about? I'm going to pull 4 cards. Tell me what you want to talk about on live camera for people that you know that may be watching. What do you want to say? 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Abuse of authority, social media, witchcraft, and paternity. You can't make this up. Did he have a child on the way? Or was somebody lying to him? Or was this about Jeremy Capel's pregnancy? That everybody says she was pregnant when she died. Was Jeremy Caples, his former girlfriend, really fucking around with somebody while Big Grape was locked up? And then when he came out, she just dropped that person that she was talking to because all of her dreams to be with Big Grape was resurrected? And them spirits that caused her to get pregnant while he was in there with whoever she was fucking around with, who I believe was somebody from Big Grape's circle of friends. Go watch that reading. It's in the link below. Is that why she was unalived? Because the devil came to collect on that too? Said, no, you're not just going to drop me. No, it don't work like that. You think you're going to drop me and live happily ever after? Like you didn't do what you do and this man don't know your truth? Is that why Jeremy Caples died? And is that also why Big Grape was unalived? Is that how those spirits came to collect? It looked like an accident, being hit by F-350, or whether the law enforcement did something much more darker and sinister. Either way it go, that's what it just looks like. But at the end of the day, the devil came to collect. Is that what really happened? So y'all see it for yourself. And I'm going to leave this reading right here. Whatever doesn't come out in the wash will come out in the rinse. And may Big Grape, Ladarrius Deshaun Christian, still rest in peace. Because at the end of the day, he was a human that was still trying to get it right like everybody else with what he had. The pieces that he did have. None of us are fully put together. All of us have missing pieces. All of us have missing pieces. It's just that some of us are not in the process of trying to find those missing pieces, healing, doing the shadow work, and putting ourselves together correctly. Even if you was born fucked up, you still have the responsibility of putting yourself together correctly. You know? And a lot of us don't understand that. So we have to have compassion and forgiveness. Because he just did the best that he could with what he had. And so did Jeremy Caples. They both did the best that they could with how they came into this life. The situations and circumstances surrounding their birth and their life. So yeah, at the end of the day, may they both rest in peace. And that's my reading on Big Grape. And I'm sticking to it.